Hi, Dr. Victoria. Thank you so much for joining this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure is mine. I'm super excited to have a conversation with you and learn more about the topic we have in our hand, which is like how we can uh, unlock our level of performance with like subconscious cognitive and energetic power, which is unusual, what we normally don't talk about. And obviously, you're like a hypnotherapist, as far as I know, like you work with that. So and you're a business person. So I'd love to know more about like a backstory of yourself, like how did you become a doctor, like helping other people, and how did you come to this trade?
Yes, it's a big question in a way. So I'm a hypnotherapist, but actually my main tool is neurolinguistic programming, which is the art and the science of helping people connect to and shift how they experience reality through connecting to the subconscious mind. I myself first studied NLP in 2001 in my first graduate job. I was given a 3-day training on
Mm.
NLP, and it was fascinating. I was really interested in the psychology of it. It was a lot around how we communicate, the language we use, the beliefs that we hold. It was fascinating. And then I moved on with my career and didn't give it another thought. And then around 2019, I had qualified as a psychologist. I was in a corporate leadership career, and I started thinking about stepping out of the corporate world and the kind of work I would like to do. I'd been trained as a coach for well over a decade at that point, and I thought about revisiting NLP,
Right.
and hypnotherapy actually does sit often alongside NLP. So I retrained in NLP and certified as an NLP practitioner and then NLP master practitioner. And what I realized was that those 3 days of training back in 2001 had supported my entire career. And I had a very successful career. I was an executive shareholder of multi-million pound organizations in my 30s. I was a deputy chief executive before I turned 40. I was usually the only woman at the top table. I was often amongst people much older than me. And when I re-certified as an NLP master practitioner, I realized that those skills and ways of being that I'd been exposed to at the very beginning of my career had really created this extraordinary success. So actually I'm an honorary doctorate. I'm Dr. Victoria because I was awarded a doctorate for my services to higher education in founding and leading an
Yeah.
online university. And I'm a master's in psychology, but they're separate. But what I discovered was the extraordinary power of these techniques that I use. And I discovered it retrospectively because it turned out I just carried them throughout my career. And it was only when I retrained, I saw it so clearly. These things I was learning, I saw that I'd been doing them for decades and that they'd created this success. So that's the backstory, really. That's the origin story of Dr. Victoria, and the success myth is realizing and seeing so acutely how we really do create success, performance, wellness, happiness
Yeah.
through the language we use, the thoughts we think, and the decisions we make. And a lot of that, for most people, happens beneath the level of conscious awareness. When you learn to develop awareness of those patterns and shift them, extraordinary things happen.
True. So that's a great experience you had, like a many decades, like you've been working with the kind of businesses and actually helping them entrepreneurs, as well as like you helping yourself. So with that being said, like obviously the performance level we have like as an entrepreneur, like there is always like a fluctuate. Some of them days we feel like a great, like we're gonna conquer the world and we're gonna take on every project we have. Next day things happens like it doesn't go as we expected, and then we feel like we need to quit, we give up, we're overwhelmed, and performance level goes down. Like obviously when you're stressed out, when you're not sure what to do next, we don't take any action, right? So how subconscious mind, you mentioned on that topic while we're choosing, how subconscious mind can unlock that like a level of performance we have. Like what do you do differently with the hypnotherapist or like with your experience?
Yeah, so as entrepreneurs, I believe we have to take ourselves on a daily basis in a way that your average employed person doesn't have to.
Mhm.
So all of us navigating our way through life, we all face challenges, we all face difficulties, we all face hurdles to overcome and challenges to be risen to. But as entrepreneurs, we don't have a structure imposed on us. We have to create our own. We don't have values to align to. We need to find our own. We don't have
Yeah,
necessarily a paycheck, a structured paycheck to motivate us. We are putting bread on the table through our activities. And therefore, if we have an off day, if we don't have those activities, we potentially don't create the paycheck. So I think it's a much more acute way of living. And there are a couple of themes that I think are really important when it comes to entrepreneurial success and how our mindset can support or disadvantage us as entrepreneurs. The first thing I think, and for many entrepreneurs, for most entrepreneurs, I think this is more readily available, is that we have to be in alignment. We have to be congruent with our deepest purpose, if you like. So many employed people are turning up, working their 8 hours and going home again in order to create a paycheck. As an entrepreneur, I think you truly have to love what you do. And love is an emotion that sits at the subconscious
yeah,
level. Often the way we are feeling, it's not something we're consciously choosing. It's something that kind of bubbles up from beneath the surface. So you have to really believe in and love what you do. And if your business is you, you have to really believe in and love yourself.
yeah,
And that is not something that comes naturally to many humans. We all have the childhood wounds and the baggage and the difficulties that sometimes get in the way of us really believing in ourselves. But if you don't believe that something is possible at a deep level, if you don't truly believe in yourself, you will sabotage yourself to create proof that you are right. It's
right,
extraordinary. We have a confirmation bias, which means that if deep down we don't believe something is possible, we subconsciously seek evidence to prove ourselves right. So what that looks like is in business, we might have a couple of good days, but when we have the bad day, if we make it who I am, well, of course this was going to happen. I should have known I couldn't make this project come off, or I wasn't going to win that
mm,
customer. We tell ourselves, well, there's proof that I was right not to believe in myself. That becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's a part of our neurology called the reticular activating system. It's a bundle of nerves at the brainstem, and it's responsible for filtering what we experience. We are exposed to 11 million bits of information in a given second, but our mind can only cope with experiencing about 130 of those. So 11 million down to 130, the reticular activating system decides which 130 we engage with, we experience.
yeah,
So of all of the experiences we have in business, if we're consistently focusing on the 130 things that went wrong in any given moment, then we're going to create more of that. We're going to see
yeah,
more of that. One of the most powerful things we can do is take conscious responsibility for how we filter what we experience. And that can be as simple as setting an intention at the start of each day. And that intention is ideally about how we will show up. Today, I will go out there with courage, with patience, with determination, with resilience, whatever is needed, whatever that day calls for, rather than I will win that project. Because if we set our intention for the day as I will win that customer.
Yes, the outcome, right? So if it doesn't, then we get disappointed.
Exactly. It's partially out of our control.
Yeah.
So if we set our intention for how we will show up, what we do is hone our reticular activating system to give us that, to spot those opportunities to show up that way, to be more like that. So we start magnetizing the kind of energy we want to show up with, experience, and that calls in opportunities. There's a fascinating study has been done on the concept of luck. So 2 groups of participants were sent through a shopping centre where money had been left around. And the participants were grouped according to whether they believed they were lucky or not. So you've got a group of, say, 20 people walking through a shopping centre, just told you're going to walk around the shopping centre and then come and report back. And then you've got another group of people that believe they are unlucky people, and they're also walking through the shopping centre. Well, of the group that believed they were unlucky, none of them spotted the money that was dotted around the shopping centre, that the researchers had hidden, popped here and there. Of the group that believed they were lucky, a large proportion of them spotted and found this money. That deep belief about who they were meant that their subconscious mind filtered for opportunity. We create our luck through what we believe. So as an entrepreneur, if you want to harness the power of your subconscious mind, well, taking responsibility for how you filter your experience is a great place to start. That looks like setting intentions. It looks like noticing your internal narrative, noticing the things you say to yourself when things go well and when things go less well. Because another feature of the concept of luck actually is that often when things go well, we say, I was so lucky, I was in the right place at the right time. We put those events out there, but when things go wrong, we say to ourselves, oh, I'm so stupid. Why did I let that happen? Why did I do that? That's all wrong when it comes to success neurology. Success neurology says when things go right, look at what you did and how the person you are made that happen. When things go wrong, ask yourself what there is to learn. And in learning the lesson, you can release yourself from the judgment and negativity that makes that experience heavy. As an entrepreneur, I myself have made lots of investments in my business. Some of them have gone brilliantly. A couple of them have not gone well. I could have been really negative about myself, how naive, how stupid, I invested in this thing, it didn't come off. But actually, in every case, I've learned something really valuable through the experience about myself, about the way I made those decisions.
So did you follow any kind of steps or formula in order to stay upfront all the time? Like you have like a steady, balanced out life, even though you have like the moments like you feel like today is not that day. Like how do you bounce back on the days? Like what kind of, do you have any ritual or anything follow?
So I would say that there is a framework here that I will share. I think for me personally, I do have some rituals and I'm not consistent in them, but at this stage of my life, of my career, I'm so trained in how to think this way that it's kind of second nature to me. One ritual that's extremely powerful, and this isn't groundbreaking, it's very commonplace, is mindfulness as a practice. And the reason I say that is because a formal mindfulness practice, a meditation each day, starting your day with a meditation, sets up the wiring for you to have better self-regulation and control when something goes wrong. The framework that I recommend is when an event happens that might send you into negativity or trip you up or have you feeling less successful, less connected to your positive energy. The simple framework is firstly to learn to notice that. So often we're in it before we realize and notice what's happening physiologically and emotionally. So step one is to notice. Step 2, really simple, is to ground yourself. And for most people, the simplest, quickest way of grounding is to take a couple of deep breaths through your nose. So an event happens, a customer complains or a deal falls over or, something goes wrong. Notice that you feel the negative energy coming up. Stop and breathe. And nose breathing is really valuable because when we breathe through our mouth, it doesn't hit our vagus nerve the same way. When we nose breathe, we hit something called the vagus nerve, which down regulates our nervous system. So it helps us avoid going into a stress reaction. When we're in a stress reaction, we actually send blood and oxygen away from the best thinking part of the brain. We send it to the heart and muscles. We ready ourselves for fight flight. It's an evolutionary strategy. By nose breathing, we down-regulate that, which leaves our prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of our brain, at the reins. That's really helpful. It's really important. So step 1 is to notice. Step 2 is to breathe and ground. There are other ways you can ground. You can take a moment to notice the feeling of your hands. You can rub a finger and thumb together and really see if you can feel the surface texture of your skin. But the simplest, most accessible for most people is 3 really deep nose breaths down into your belly. And then you ask yourself, what response will create the best outcome for me here? Now, if we try and ask ourselves that in the heat of the moment, in the stress, we'll probably we'll be reacting, not choosing, which is why it's really important to create space around the moment and ask ourselves, what response will be best? What do I get to learn here? There's always a gift in a difficult experience. And if we bring conscious awareness to the choices we make, rather than just reacting in the moment, we make much better business decisions. And by focusing on our learnings rather than our losses, we avoid focusing our reticular activating system on our failures and creating this sense that it's going wrong. We naturally pull ourselves to positive outcomes. So that's the framework I advocate for, is awareness, space through breath, and then choice. It's an ABC: awareness, breath, choice. The reason mindfulness is a really powerful partner to that as a structured practice is because our ability to create space through breath is a trainable habit. If we have a regular mindfulness practice, we have the wiring already existing so that in those moments of stress or difficulty, we can cut to space really quickly. Whereas if you're a bit of a stress puppy and you don't have a mindfulness practice and a lot of life feels manic and hectic and high pressure, when those additional moments kick in, you don't have a foundation to go to. So I would say that combination of a structured daily meditation, 10 minutes on Headspace app will do. I do a lot more than that. But that coupled with having that little framework in mind, the ABC, together really help you remain more composed, more regulated, and that creates better business decisions. And by choosing what you focus on and which outcomes you drive, you're also building a more positive, more success-orientated neurology. So that would be a practical tool people can use.
That's great. Thank you so much for the advice. So Dr. Victoria, we're nearly coming to end of this podcast. So we can go on for like hours, but we're limited in the time. So if anyone wants to learn more about yourself, your business, what is the best place to find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Dr. Victoria Stakelum. You can also visit the website, thesuccesssmith.com. There's one more S in the middle there than you're expecting. And there are lots of free resources, regular events, boot camps, challenges, masterclasses that people can connect with. So those would be the best places to find me and go and learn more about this kind of topic. There's a lot more where this came from, you can probably tell.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing those. So thank you so much for coming to our episode today and sharing your valuable lessons. And I wish you best of luck with your business, your personal life, and you have a wonderful year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
You're most welcome. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode with Dr. Victoria today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. If anyone wants to learn more about her, you can visit her LinkedIn profile, or you can go to her website as well. So until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.